I've poured my heart into my content. I've recorded videos. I've tried all of the things, and nothing is really connecting and converting my audience. What else can I do to get their attention? Okay, this is a really great question, and we're going to talk about the three types of relationships here, and it's actually then going to really set the scene for all of the other questions that have come through today. So here's the thing. My mentor has shared a beautiful concept around the three types of relationships that you have, not just in business, but your entire life. And as we're talking through these principles, have a listen to how you're showing up and what type of relationship you're creating in your business, in your your intimate relationship, in your friendships, in the way that you show up with your children. Every relationship that you have, you're probably about to see that some relationships you show up in a different way to others. So there are three types of relationships that you'll be creating, both the relationship with yourself in business and in life. And those relationships can be defined as careless, careful, and caring. Now, a careless relationship is one where you haven't taken the time to really get to know and identify the other individual or the target audience in terms of our business, the individuals, the organizations that you're trying to connect with. Now, even in organizations are made up of individuals. So in this context, we're going to talk about individuals. So a careless relationship is one where you've come from this place of really being focused on your needs, your wants, what you want to speak about, your priorities, your values, and you may be thinking that you care about the other individual's wants, interests, desires, priorities, and values. But the truth of the matter is our I-centric nature is going to trick us into thinking that we are being caring when actually we're being careless. And if you're wondering how you can really get to the truth of if you are being careless accidentally, because I know you've got the best of intentions, right? Then some of the ways for you to look at how is it showing up external to you, because the external world is a reflection of your inner world. And the truth of your inner world, what's really going on, not what you think is going on. So some of the ways that it will be showing up in your business is you're not getting engagement or conversion on your content, or you're getting engagement but with the wrong people. You're expecting others to reach out to you. This is a classic indication of you accidentally and inadvertently creating a careless relationship in your business and with your target audience. In particular, I see this happen for a lot of experts turned coaches, and experts meaning typically you were a professional in an industry. So you went to university and you were that professional. You might be a health professional, a lawyer, a therapist. But I see this happen a lot for the expert turned coach. They accidentally are creating a careless relationship with their target audience, and it shows up because people aren't coming to you. They're not reaching out to you. And what's happening is your internal world has an expectation that others should come to you. Now, this is not just happening for experts turned coaches, by the way, but you might be seeing yourself in some of what we're saying here, which is that you have this expectation that your target audience should be coming to you. And for the experts in particular, you're very used to that, because what happened is you set up a brick and mortar business, or as a health professional, you had a service where you didn't have to go outward. People were coming to you. And typically that's because of the way that the society is set up, where individuals think that they need that service. And, we've been taught that we need to go to a service like that. So then you're this expert turned coach, and all of a sudden people aren't just banging down your doorstep, and you have to create proactively, and that feels uncomfortable for you. But actually what's happening is you've created a careless relationship, because you're expecting others to come to you, and you're inadvertently and accidentally, even with the best of intentions, you are actually being I-centric. because it's kind of like, and I know this isn't your intention, but for those of you who've just jumped in, we're talking about the 3 different types of relationships that are in your business and in your personal life. And I'm giving you a definition, and we're only at number 1, so stick around. So a careless relationship that you're accidentally creating, even though you have the best of intentions, is you're expecting your audience to come to you rather than a meeting of hearts and minds, law of reciprocity together. You're internally criticizing your target audience for what they don't yet know or what they aren't or are doing, which is kind of hilarious because this is the very reason that they need you. They need you because they don't yet know what they're doing that isn't working or what they are doing, that's not right. But you're internally criticizing them for it. And you're talking about what you want rather than what they want. And that can be in your content, in your sales calls, even in your client delivery when you are serving your clients. So what's happening is you're possibly being careless and you're accidentally speaking at your audience rather than with them. And I know that that's not your intention, but if people aren't coming to you from your content, this is a good indication for you that you might accidentally be setting up a careless relationship. So that's the first type of relationship. And by the way, this will show up. This will show up in other areas. Like, so have a look at, am I being careless in my marriage? Or am I being careless with how I show up for my children? Am I being careless at the supermarket, the yoga studio? Because there's opportunities for you everywhere. And so sometimes with an online business, we get in this habit of just like getting online and thinking that this is where we'll attract clients, and then we forget about the real world. And I really get that that has happened, and I get why it has happened with COVID and everything going on. However, there are opportunities that are still existing outside of your realm of the social media. And so if you just put your business hat on when you get on social media, you're missing out on opportunities everywhere else. So you might be careless in your real life as well. For example, last week I was at my yoga studio and I noticed a business card of a gentleman, and I was immediately drawn to that particular business card. And so I decided to grab it and find this individual online. And I had a look at his profile and there was an immediate connection there. And I did think I can probably help this individual. So I connected with him. And he's joined our inner circle this week and he's about to start working one-on-one with me. You know who you are if you're watching this. So I share that with you because you might be showing up carelessly, accidentally on social media, but there's also opportunity for you to serve still out there in the real world. Okay, so that's careless. All right, so there's careless. And careless is when you've minimized the other individual and maximized yourself. Although it might not feel like you've maximized yourself and put yourself on a pedestal, but it'll be showing up in your actions. You'll be standoffish and you'll be only connecting with people when you want something, rather than building quality connections and relationships that long-term connect and convert consistently. Well, that's a lot of C's. Okay, so that's relationship type number 1. You may not be careless. You might be careful. So careful is when we've gone the other way. We've minimized ourselves and we've maximized the individuals that we're trying to connect with, whether that's your husband, your children, your friends, or in this case, your business, your target audience. So what's happened is you've become fearful to make offers, fearful to put yourself out there, fearful to share your message and your mission. What you're doing internally is you're thinking in terms of the other and prioritizing what they think about you, or in your brain, what they potentially think about you, not actuality, by the way, because you can never know really. But you've prioritized them, their thoughts, their needs, their wants over your own. You're overly concerned about this, right? There's an imbalance. You almost feel like you're walking around on eggshells. And the issue with this is that if you're setting up this type of relationship, whether it's in your personal life or your business world, what happens is over time you stack up resentment. It's a very passive aggressive retaliation. And you stack up resentment eventually, because what happens is you feel like you're not being seen and heard, and you're blaming the other for not being seen and heard. And so the ways that this might be showing up inside of your business is you don't talk at all, or you talk very little about your value and what you have to offer. And I mean that it can be in your content, it can be on your sales calls, it can even be in your client delivery. The connection point in your marketing, if you want to call it marketing, flows through into how you serve your clients. So please don't be fooled. Everything we do here in Business Builder, in Connect with Content, it flows through every part of your business, including how you serve, right? It's all about how you connect, and you are connecting not just at the social media point, in the yoga studio and in, with your clients. So internally, how it might be showing up for you is you're criticizing yourself for what you don't yet know or what you aren't doing. So remember, with a careless relationship, you're criticizing external. You're criticizing the other for what they are or aren't doing. But now, if you're being careful, you're actually criticizing yourself for what you are or aren't doing. Here's the other thing that's happening, the ways it's showing up in your business. You're letting them dominate the conversation in your DMs, on your content, on your sales calls, and even in your client delivery, right? You're not making offers, you're not putting yourself out there, you're scared of being judged, and you're waiting for people to come and reach out to you. And that's because you've become timid and you've minimized yourself, so you're scared to connect. Instead, you're worried about rejection, kind of what we were speaking about last week. Now, if you've gone into careful, what's happened is at one stage you were careless. In careless, this is where you project and you get rejected. So then so this is following on from our conversation last week, right? In AMA, we were talking about rejection being entangled with projection, and actually what you want to do is get to connection where you're at unity with you and others. So to follow on from that, when we look at the three types of relationships, careless and careful are entangled because you're just bouncing from one to the other, because it's an imbalanced emotion and connection or relationship. So what happens is you put yourself up on the pedestal and you become careless. You look down at your target audience. They're not doing this. They're not reaching out to me. They don't get it. They don't understand. And this is when you've maximized yourself. So you become careless. This is when you project. And when you project, you then get rejected. So then what happens is the scales tip, and now you become fearful. You go into careful. And you've put your target audience above you. And by the way, this has to happen because you are out of equilibrium. So if you don't govern yourself, the external world is going to do it for you. And this is going to show up in your business. It's going to show up in your relationships. It's going to show up in your finances, feast or famine. It's going to show up in your health and wellness, vitality, empty. So you've gone into careful now, where you're timid, you're scared of being rejected because you projected yourself, so then you got rejected. So now you've created this carefulness within you. And now it's showing up because people aren't interested in what you've got to say because you're not saying it with certainty and clarity and connection. And unless you start to know how to bring connection to your relationships, you're just going to bounce between one and the other. It's just going to be careful, careless, careful, careless. This is what's creating your feast and famine months. Your internal world, the internal relationship you have with yourself is a reflection. It's reflecting through the external world. It's reflecting in your finances. It's reflecting in the relationships that you have with people, in your business and your personal life. So if you're having feast or famine, if people aren't coming to you, you're probably doing this pendulum swing between careful and careless. And when you lack certainty in what you're offering, your audience is going to reflect that back to you. So Careful, careless. Now, here's where you actually want to learn to operate. It's the third type of relationship, and it's caring. And in the caring space within your business, your finances, your intimate relationship with your partner, your children, at the yoga studio, it is not a case where you've put one above the other. You haven't put yourself above others and you haven't put them above you. This is where we see the circle of unity, where we are connecting with ourselves and others. This is where the law of fair exchange plays out, which in summary states that you cannot gain anything without sacrificing something else. And so you have to be present to the equal value in order to gain something. As you're giving, you're also receiving. But when you're in careful or careless, you're like, if you're in careless, you're like, I'm so great, I'm giving my audience all this value. And you think that you're just giving, but you're not getting anything from them, which is not true. Because you can't exist in service unless you have an audience to serve. So let's get off our pedestals, baby, because we ain't doing nothing in this world without others. It is such a privilege to have people who care about what you've got to say and buy into your message. If you're being careful, then what's happened is you're minimizing and you're not sharing. But coming into a caring space is where you've taken the time to identify, what is it I want to give the world and what is the world wanting to receive? I want to get really, really clear. I want you to get present on this. What is it I want to give the world in service and what is it that they want to receive? So that you have a meeting of the hearts and the minds and you maximize connection and conversion in everything that you do. Whether it's on social media on a piece of content, whether it's sending a direct message to someone, or whether it's at your yoga studio waiting for your juice and you see a business card and you are able to pick up what's going on, that there is a potential opportunity for you to serve and the other individual to get their problem solved. Now, a caring relationship means that you are actively engaged in that relationship. You are considering both you and them. You are expressing love for yourself and for the other. And by the way, the other can be the many, law of one and the many, right? You've got one client in a one-on-one session, but you've also got the many operating in your target audience that you are constantly connecting with that turn into the one being a new client or a set of new clients. A caring relationship, a caring relationship is where there is both challenge and support. So here's the other thing. When you start with a coach or when you have a new client start with you, your brain might go into this space where you're like, it's all going to be support. If you're the coach, you're like, I'm just going to give them all this support and they're going to be great and they're going to have wonderful results. Or if you've just started with a coach, for some of you here, you've just started with me. You might think, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. She's going to support me and everything's going to be great. I want you to get out of this fantasy thinking, because there is no such thing as a one-sided life or relationship. And people are demonstrating love for you in challenging you. In fact, you don't grow in a world full of support. You become dependent and you minimize. You grow when you are challenged. And that is a caring relationship. I care enough about my clients to not care what they think about me and to challenge them when they need to be challenged in order to help them maximize their growth. You guys don't always love what I have to say. But when you come out the other side and you do the work of the challenge, you're grateful because it takes you to the next degree of awareness and where you're trying to get to. So how does caring show up in your business? Well, you are sharing your message about your value, but in a way that's meaningful to the people you're trying to connect with. This is where we're speaking with people, not at them. We're speaking in terms of their awareness, their understanding, and their priorities, because we've taken the time to get to know them. For example, for my team that's here in Connect with Content, and if you're working one-on-one with me, and in Business Builder, the niche identifier framework that we go through is a great place for you to start to create a caring relationship. Because by the time you finish answering the quality questions in the niche identifier template, you have a bird's eye view of everything that is important to your audience at their level of awareness. And now we start to shape your messaging around this, because that's caring. So for those of you who've started with me this week, we're about to start an exciting and inspiring journey where you start to master your message in this way, because you're about to identify, what does my audience really care about? And then we start to create your messaging around that. So you get to give what you want to give, but in a way that they're ready to receive. Another way that a caring relationship shows up for you in your business, and for those of you who've been with me a little while and you've worked through how we set up your DM sequence, your DM sequence is about them. It's about leading the people you're connecting with to find clarity in that conversation. Do I have the problem? Do I want to solve it? Am I prepared to invest in myself? But you will know from the way we set up our DM sequence in Connect with Content that we do it in a way that you're actually in service in that conversation. So your content, your messaging becomes about a connection, an engaged connection. And you'll know if you're doing this because you will have engagement and conversion on your content consistently, not feast or famine. Remember, this chopping and changing. You don't want to do that. When you have consistency in your message and in your ability to connect, then you see consistency in your finances, in your income and your revenue every single month. So if you're in a careless or a careful relationship with your target audience right now, you're doing you and them a disservice. But when you get into that caring space and it's about learning how to connect, when you get in that caring space, you feel inspired to share your gift, you're energized, but equally your audience is coming to you because they feel seen by you. And that is your only job on social media, to help your audience feel seen, not to serve them, not to coach them. When they feel seen, they inherently believe that you must have the solution. And now you've made connections and they get their problem solved, and you also get to do more of what you love and have the freedom in your life to be with your family, to not be stressed about money, to take a trip away. You know, freedom to me, I've got to say, I've been thinking about this a lot this week, and I'm like, what actually is it? Freedom to me is just the simplicity, but the absolute privilege of being able to go to the supermarket and not have to check my bank account, and being able to buy whatever it is that I want to buy that day at the supermarket. And I know that must sound completely ridiculous, but you know, like this week I was thinking about, I mean, I've come from poverty, and I remember going through life being so stressed out, not being able to go to the supermarket until I had checked my bank account to make sure that I knew exactly how many dollars were there, and then walking through the supermarket having to add up as I'm picking things up to know that I wasn't going to get embarrassed at the checkout, that I didn't have enough money. So that is true freedom for me anyway, and that is the privilege that you get to have when you get to serve people to the degree that you love serving them. But it's not going to happen unless you can create a caring relationship. Otherwise, you're going to keep having feast or famine.